Now in this video, we're going to talk about what it takes to change your identity after the age of 40. Now, this is not an easy task. This is a difficult challenge because to change who you are over the past 40 years takes a lot of intentionality, a lot of focus and commitment, because a lot of the habits, the characteristics, and the traits a person has lived by is totally ingrained to who they are now. It's innate, it's natural. And now changing everything and switching it up takes a lot of effort. The first thing is when changing your identity, you got to realize what you want in life. You have to actually take out the pros and cons of what worked previously. Figure out the things that were good, the things that were bad, the things you could have improved upon, and the things that you totally failed. You got to get real with yourself. And I had to get real with myself recently to figure out what is the life that I want to build. Because what worked in the past 20 years of my adulthood no longer works now. I feel like the past 20 years has been nothing but limitations, a lot of self-doubt, a lot of hesitation, a lot of self-restriction, a lot of limitations that I listen to from other people. And I choose not to live that way. It seems like every time I got lifted up, I got kicked back down because other people didn't want me to shine my own light. And it's gonna happen time in, time out. And it's gonna happen more so now as we're older in our 40s. But in our 40s, we understand that, okay, it's my life, it's not yours. I'm the star character in my movie and not that other person. And so it's who cares? Who gives a shit? You got to do what you got to do to find happiness, joy. And most importantly for me, it's peace of mind. Because I've been in the business world, I've been in the corporate world. I was in healthcare for such a really long time that I just knew attack, focus, and just execute, regardless of how I felt, regardless of the pressures I felt on my back. It's a lot of stress, a lot of pressure to go through life and trying to live up to other people's standards or expectations of what a good life is. And sometimes you don't need to do that. Sometimes, and all of the time actually, you gotta just pick what's right for you. Intuitively, you're gonna know. Everyone says trust your gut, that's important, but you should only trust your gut when your mind and your gut or your heart is all aligned. It has to make sense on every level. If not, it's a waste of time because you're just gonna get pulled in two worlds. And that's what happened to me because I'm over here executing, being a leader in a large machine, and it didn't fulfill me. At the end of the career, what do I have to show for it? 18 years and I got cast aside like I was nothing. Even when my brother died and I was needing emotional support, I had to be there for other people, but there wasn't too much support for myself. And so looking at it, hindsight, I know what I want now. What's gonna work for you, what's not gonna work for me. And so I'm intentionally picking the teams that I wanna work with to grow and build up and be better about, but at the same time, avoiding the risk of burnout, the risk of being overwhelmed, overstressed, worried. There's no point in that for me anymore. And there's no room for that in my life. I just want to do the things that I do that make me happy, allow me to take care of my livelihood, the lives of my family, and allows me to just move forward. Now, it takes a lot of guts to be real with yourself because when you know what you want, you also know what you don't want. And so it makes it easier to say no to everything. Nah, I can't do that. Nah, I don't want to go drink. Nah, I don't want to go party. Nah, I don't want to smoke weed or whatever it is. Or nah, I don't want to kick it with that female or date her. It makes it a lot easier when you know you want. So having clarity to decide to become intentional and just choose a specific direction that you want to go to, then do it. Now, one of the things that was big for me after I knew what I wanted, I needed to figure out who I wanted to become. Who I was before is no longer who I want to become in the future. Things are starting to shift. Things are starting to change. And it's natural that people change. People grow. When I was 20 years old, yes, I was a college student, but I was wild, drinking, doing drugs, having fun, working hard still. Same situation as I started entering the 30s, but less partying, but more work. During my 30s, all I did was burn myself out, trying to do all these things, trying to be successful in other people's eyes. And I was just too focused on what other people thought of me, and it didn't work. All I could focus now as I turned 40 and I'm going into business now and I'm exploring other opportunities, it's important to me to figure out who I want to become, because I don't want to become what I was in the last 10 years ago, which was a workaholic who had no fun. It was just focused on getting shit done. It was like there was no empathy, there's no compassion. Now, I'm not saying, oh, we need to be woo-woo and like soft all the time, but there has to be a balance. And I wasn't living a life that was balanced. I was just total straight type A, execute, fuck the world, screw your feelings, go get it done. And I understand now, like, that's not a way to live life. It just burns everyone out. The goal in life is to live a good life with other people, to have great experiences, to have great friends, to have great relationships. Achievement is great, but that's just the icing on the cake. It's not the backbone to what the primary goal is. There's nothing to show for it. When you've been to, for me, I've been to so many funerals and understand the importance of relationships. Without great relationships, life isn't worth living. If all you did was execute and build all these things, then what is the point? Achievement? Is it legacy? Is it power and authority? Is it control of others? These are a lot of things that I look at now, and that's not how I want to live. I love building systems. I love building businesses. I'm not going to do it at the cost of stress, overwhelm, anxiety, worry. In reality, stress is good for you. A little bit of the stress is good because it actually pushes you, like, let's go. It makes you more productive. But overwhelming amount of stress is just toxic. And I've had that experience when I was in management. I ran a team of 80 staff members, direct reports with no leadership structure underneath me. And it ate me alive. It was not the funnest time in my life. It wasn't a happy time in my life. It caused me a lot of stress, anxiety. I was overweight, coughing up blood, and a lot of different things. I couldn't be there for my family when I was doing that role. I was barely even there for myself. And so that was a frustration. And who I want to become now is to be able to build my businesses, travel the world, spend time with my family, have a good time, have great experiences, and just surround myself with positive, loving energy while still executing like a type A personality. One of the ways I've figured out who I want to become is read a lot of biographies. That's like my go-to thing right now. I read a lot of biographies of successful individuals, and it doesn't have to be successful in business. It just has to be successful in life, whether it's spiritual, business related, the philosophy, or even just general stories of individual people. These stories are a great way to take out wisdom from other people's lives and try to figure out, would this be applicable to my own life? Now, as I shift into the second half of life, turning 40, I think it's very important to really define who you are. Changing a new identity of who I'm not versus who I'm going to be and how I'm going to behave and act is very important. It's very critical because it's going to set the tone of how I live my life for the rest of my days until I die. One of the things that I've always heard is if you always did what you did, you'll always get what you get. It's the same thing in your personality. The way you treat people, the way you carry yourself, the way you handle yourself teaches people how to respect you, teaches people how to treat you. Now, if you weren't getting particular results in the past, why continue doing those things in the future? And so I'm intentionally changing some of the things I do so I could actually connect more to the world around me rather than just live based on systems, processes, and SOPs like work. Now, one of the biggest things for me to create a new identity is have new experiences. Try new stuff, experience the world. This world is so big and it's so vast that there's no way to experience everything in life. There's no such thing as, oh, you've been there, done that on every level. There's always something new to do. There's always something new to experience. There's always a new place to go. For me, I love traveling. It gives me a perspective out of what I know at the moment. And it doesn't have to be international travel. I like international travel myself. I've been to Africa, I've been to Asia, all over the US. When you see how other people live, you'll also see what's the blessings in your own life. And it gives me a lot of gratitude and appreciation for what I have, what I've built, and what I'm striving to do in the future. Traveling doesn't have to be the biggest thing. You could just go down the street and just do a new hobby. The main thing is to get out of the processes you've been doing yourself. It's important to just keep going, to experience something new and be able to volunteer yourself to a new experience. Say yes and say no to what you know you don't want to do, but say yes to something you're curious about. It'll give you a different perspective. Like for me, one of the biggest things I've done is go to Philippines for a few weeks. And I traveled to multiple islands. It was a great experience because I haven't done that in a long time, but I was able to reconnect with my family that lives out there. I was able to go canyoneering, swim with whale sharks, try new foods. It opened up my world. Like I'm actually exploring, moving to Cebu and seeing how people live, how people interact, puts it into perspective what's really important. And so when you're trying to go out, create a new identity after whatever change you've gone through or whatever transition, it's important to know what you want, what you don't know. It's also important to know how you want to live, who you want to become. And on top of that, throw in new experiences to expand your world. With that, I'll check you later. Be easy.